Hello, and welcome to Marriage and Money, a conversational podcast about personal financial topics aimed at taking the money stress out of a marriage and turning the focus to enjoying life together. This is a weekly discussion brought to you by a seemingly financially incompatible couple bonded by the legal contract of marriage. My name is David, your favorite saver, and I'm joined today by the person I'm most thankful for, Heather. Heather, would you be able to remind our listeners where they can reach us and how they can get a hold of us if they want to ask questions or comments?
You bet. People can email us at marriageandmoneypodcast@gmail.com or message us on Instagram at marriage.and.money. We'd love to hear from you. We'd be very grateful to hear from you all.
Yes, I would personally be very grateful. I'll send you a little message back saying, "Hey, thanks for that question. We appreciate it." You'll know you're appreciated. Well, we have a great show for you today. Today we're going to be talking about gratitude. But first, Heather, what is going on with us?
So it's Thanksgiving week, thus the topic for the show today. But it's a little bit odd since we are currently living in Singapore, as you've mentioned. So Thanksgiving isn't really a thing here. It's
It's
not
not
a
a thing at
holiday.
all. Like nobody's talking about Thanksgiving here. Nothing's happening.
So that's kind of sad. But on the other hand, we've been able to have other holidays that we've never experienced or celebrated. So recently we celebrated, and I'm going to mess this up, Diwali. Am I saying that right? It's not.
Yeah,
It doesn't.
and there's
It's
actually
not.
two words for
Yeah,
it.
it's not spelled how it sounds, so it throws me off.
There's a W in there. So Diwali, and then there's also uh, Deepavali,
Okay.
which, and I'm not sure what the history is and why there are two different words for the same holiday, but
Yeah, we don't really know a
anyway,
lot except
Festival of
there's
Lights.
Festival of Lights, which David, I would think you would love this holiday because I think you spend money on lights second to your car. I mean,
That's
it's the
true.
the thing you spend the most amount of money on. So I would think you would have been pretty excited
I
about this
I was
holiday.
very excited. So Diwali, it's a Hindu holiday. Festival of Lights. So they bring out all these lights, light it up. It's sparkly. It's beautiful. It's awesome. It's kind of like Christmas essentially with all the lights. And I love lights. I love LEDs.
Yeah, I'm
I
sorry.
love
I
colors.
should
I
have bought you
love.
some light bulbs. I apologize. Maybe I'll get you a belated Diwali gift. I don't know if they do that. But I am really sad. Thanksgiving happens to be my favorite holiday. I mean, who doesn't love a holiday where it's all about eating, just relaxing, spending time with family? Naps are usually a requirement. I mean, it's like all of my favorite things. There's no presents or no bunch of decorations or stuff you got to stress about other than the food, which is awesome to
Right.
me.
Do you have a favorite Thanksgiving memory?
Well, so one thing, I don't know if it's a memory because it happens every year, but whenever we go to my dad's families for Thanksgiving, right before we eat, my aunt always says, "All right, now we're going to go around and everybody's going to say one thing they're grateful for." And
Oh, and everybody groans.
everybody
Yes.
groans and rolls their eyes and is like, "Ah, are you going to make us do this?" And I will tell you, they all groan and moan, but I think down deep they really appreciate it. And people say some really nice things, and I think they really like it even though they complain about it. And I really like it.
It is there is a little bit of groaning because it's like, oh, we got to do this again, but it's also kind of interesting because they also say, and you can't say family because everybody always says I'm grateful for family. And so I think that's kind of an interesting caveat too, but no, that's good. One of my there's plenty of Thanksgiving memories, but I remember like the first Thanksgiving that I right after I bought my house. I was like 23 years old, and my dad's side of the family all said, "Oh, let's come over and hang out at your house, and we'll all bring food." And so everybody brought food. I didn't cook a thing. They just brought food. Brought
Did you have
a
chairs for people to sit on?
did I what was that?
Did you have chairs for people to sit on?
Not really. Yeah. So actually, I think people had to bring folding chairs and such because I seriously had nothing in the house. It was a little embarrassing because the house is empty, no furniture, no food, and like everybody's bringing everything. But I don't know. I'm young and stupid and kind of was able to blame it on that. But anyway, it was really thoughtful of everybody, and it really, I don't know, it made an impression on me. I really
That's
enjoyed it.
that's cool. I thought you were gonna say our first Thanksgiving when my dad made you dress up like a pilgrim, but
Well,
that's we can handle that on next year. We'll
that's
save
a
that for
yeah.
next year.
Yeah, there's a lot of Thanksgiving memory. I mean, we did some great fun hosting in California,
Yeah.
thinking about my grandma and how she always wanted to have this raspberry jello dessert and wouldn't let us start eating lunch until 1 p.m. even though everybody was hungry by 11 a.m. It was like there's lots of fun stuff, but yeah, another time. So gratitude, Heather. So we're talking today about gratitude. Uh, let's start by talking about why are we talking about gratitude?
Yeah, so I think this is going to be maybe a little different episode than we normally do, because you're probably thinking, "What? I thought this was marriage and money." But I do think, obviously it's Thanksgiving. It's the time of year we celebrate gratitude, and 2020 has been a tough year. So I think it's good to pause and kind of look back at good things that have happened this year. Especially as David mentioned, there's a lot of great reasons why gratitude is important. Gratitude really helps reframe, negative thoughts. So you might feel kind of frustrated with your spouse or with, I don't know, your friends, your relatives, anybody. And I think when you think something positive or that you're grateful for them, it helps reframe them in a good light and makes you appreciate them.
I really like that point because it's so easy to get caught up on the negative, and you see that thing that your spouse doesn't like, that you don't like your spouse doing, like I don't know, like biting their fingernails, for example.
What? So why would we not like that?
I don't know. I'm just picking random thoughts that someone in the audience might be able to relate to that I would have no knowledge of. But it's easy to get hung up on those little things and forget about all the great things that your spouse is bringing to the table. And especially when you're looking at money, when you're thinking about, oh, I'm the saver and she's the spender in our case, and oh, I really hate it when she spends all this money or when she wants to spend money or she's always bugging me, we got to spend money, we got to spend money. And it's important for me to stop and think about what's the good part about that? How do I reframe that and put that in the context of how this helps us as a couple and as a family unit?
Yeah, and kind of on that same note, right, is having a money plan and kind of playing your role, it's only part of what you need, right? So you need to reiterate to the other person what they bring to the marriage, what they bring, that both of you are making this successful, and it wouldn't be successful without each of you and the different, points of view or things that you bring to the marriage, the money plan, all of that, right?
Yes. So diversity in thought is really important in all areas of life. We hear about it, you hear about it in society as a whole, you hear about it at work, and it's very true in marriage. And there's a lot of value in us playing to each other's strengths and weaknesses, right? We're able to fill in those gaps, and that's what makes a marriage so great, is that we're able to bridge those gaps that the other person has, and really get us as a couple across the finish line together. I also think that gratitude is important because it gives you a chance to see how far you've come, how much you've developed. So I think about times where, oh, I don't know, being the saver, where you've had to push me in different ways. And so I've looked back and said, okay, when I first started out, before we were married, I had the house at 55 degrees in the winter to save on gas, and I I didn't eat food properly, probably, or
Oh my
healthy,
goodness.
and there were
Or
a lot of
dress
things.
appropriately, or walk around with shoes with holes in them.
Yeah, I didn't have clothes that really were clothes or were very good. I didn't have furniture. Like there are basic things that I really didn't do, and so that's kind of at a basic level. But looking back, like okay, I've developed over time, and I think a lot of that has to do with you pushing me in these directions, and helping me get there.
Yeah, and I'm surprised I kind of looked up because I love this topic of gratitude, specifically in my work. I encourage, like, yeah, it's a big topic for me when it comes to leadership and being successful in work. But I was looking it up as it relates to finances, and there is actually, studies out there that gratitude does help you become more financially successful. And one point here, which I think really I see in you, David, is Gratitude encourages patience. And then when you have a more forward, focused outlook when it comes to your money, so you're able to be, if you're grateful for things, you're not as I need it now, I need it. You have more patience and you can, maybe delay gratification or put money aside or save and at the end become more successful financially because of that patience.
Because you're grateful for what you have, you're saying, right?
Right.
You're grateful for your current situation and you don't take your current situation for granted. So if you're focused on what you have, you don't have time to be focused on what you don't have.
Right. And the other thing that I think you would appreciate about gratitude is, guess what? It doesn't cost any money.
Oh, it doesn't? Is it free? That sounds fantastic.
I
We need
know.
to do more of this gratitude thing.
Exactly. I mean, it certainly does take time, but it doesn't take a lot of time, and the benefits are really huge for something that's free. It doesn't take a lot of time.
Yeah, and also from a financial standpoint, gratitude is a great way also to it can be a great way to further your career and your professional development. So if you are focused on the positive things that somebody at work is doing rather than their negative things, you're able to build a stronger relationship with them. And we all know that when it comes to work, you need to be successful in relating to other people, in working alongside other people, because those are the people that are going to help you in furthering your career and in furthering your goals. And so you need those people in your life, and you can't do that if you're always thinking about negative thoughts about them. So there's a financial impact to that as well.
Right, for sure it connects. And like who doesn't like to hear thank you or that you did
Oh
something
yeah.
great? Like, I mean, everybody loves to hear words of affirmation. It helps you, drives you to do better, right? And push on.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. I think we all agree
So
there.
I think we understand why gratitude is important. So now, how do we be grateful? What does that look like?
Well,
What do you
that's
suggest?
easier. It's easier said than done, right? So one of the things that we've done at really at your suggestion, this was after you had read a book. I think you had read a book or something along those lines,
Yep.
and you had said, "Oh, we should every day we should mention three things that we're grateful for." And I'll admit we haven't been super reliable about doing it, but for a few,
For
I
a
don't know,
while there.
a
Yeah.
couple months, we were doing it every night. We would say three things we were grateful for, and the rule was they couldn't be that we were grateful for each other. I think that was kind of the only rule, right?
Well, you couldn't say generic. It couldn't be like I'm grateful for my job, I'm grateful for my house, kind of like the Thanksgiving Day rule. It had to be specific. It's not that you couldn't be grateful for that, but it's like it was -20 today and I'm grateful that I had a warm home. It had to be
Right.
it had to
Yes.
be like a specific. It couldn't just be a generic I'm grateful for this, right?
Exactly. And I think it was a good practice because it made me reflect on the day and say, what happened today? And yes, it might have even been a bad day, but what's the silver lining in that day that I could find? And so the only thing that maybe potentially I would tweak is there a way that we could start out our day with
Yeah.
that gratitude rather than end the day? Because if you can go into the day feeling grateful, hopefully that puts a new lens on the rest of the day where you can go in and say, here's what I'm going for and what I'm looking forward to. And like you said, helps you focus on what you have versus what you don't for saving money, helps you at work as you're trying to build up relationships, just helps you all around.
Yeah, and I would totally agree with that. And that's what the experts recommend. But for us, we'd start our days different, so we wanted to do it together. But yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I do feel like you said me a lot during that, which was
Okay,
very
let's be
kind.
honest though. You are kind of the big, well, not kind of, you are the biggest thing that I'm most grateful for, and I'm
Well,
very
back at you,
grateful for you
babe.
in a lot of ways.
So another thing you can do, which is very similar to that, is you can journal. Now, so you can journal about something that was very positive that day or great that happened to you. Um,
Now,
I
you're a big
will
journaler,
I
right?
will tell you I absolutely hate journaling. I hate writing. My handwriting is so bad that I can't even read it. I will take notes at work and then I cannot even read what I wrote. This is why I type everything. But there is something different about putting pen to paper and than typing. So I this is something I don't do, but I do hear a lot of really positive things, and I think it is a good. I know my mom journals every day, and I know it's a really good
And
good
it's
thing to do.
harder to do than I would have expected. So I think we mentioned a few episodes ago, might have, I don't know, maybe more than a few episodes ago, there was for one of our wedding anniversaries, I gave Heather a journal where I wrote something that I loved about her every day, that I recognized a different 365 reasons that I loved her. And every single day I'd have to sit and think about essentially what am I grateful for from Heather today? Why am I happy to be married to Heather? And most days it was very easy, but there are those days when you're looking at that day and it was a tough day, right? Something just didn't go right. We didn't get along. Nothing clicked. And this could be not necessarily in your marriage, but just financially or your day in general. So it was a bad day, but it's a good reminder. It's a good reminder to continue to look for what's going well or what you can do to improve your situation. You can be grateful that in the midst of this bad situation, I can do this one thing that'll at least slightly improve my situation.
Yeah, that was literally the nicest gift I've ever received in my life. So it was a pretty,
But
it meant a lot.
aw, well, thank you. But I think it was. I think I can relate though, as far as it's tough
Yeah,
to find the time every day to do that.
yeah,
Yeah,
it is a
it's a
dedication.
dedication.
Another simple thing you can do is, and I try to do this occasionally, is just send an email to someone, just telling them that you're thankful for what they did. I know I try to do this at work. I could be better, but it could be a friend or a family member or just anybody. It takes 30 seconds to just shoot a note, or maybe if you're not on email, maybe a text or a Facebook message or an Instagram DM or, hey, I saw this picture and thought of you. People really, it doesn't take, again, it doesn't take a lot of time. It's free and it can go a long way.
And I know I appreciate it when somebody sends me a short message that says, "Hey, just thinking about you." Um, yeah, it doesn't even have to be my birthday.
I'll take it any day of the week.
That's right.
And then another way, obviously, is giving money, right? So, um, what's the point of money? Is it really just to keep it for yourself? No. For us, the first line item on our budget is for charitable giving, and it's been really awesome to see that amount grow as we've gotten debt free or as we've done better financially in our lives. And it's really fun to be able to give and to kind of put some actions and dollars behind things that you're grateful for and that you are trying to support.
Yeah, it really adds some. It makes it more real. It's more than just being grateful. It's being grateful with an action. It's doing gratefulness rather than just being grateful. So I think that's the empowering thing about that charitable giving. Heather, I think this would be a great time since we're in the spirit here of being grateful and it's Thanksgiving. I think it would be awesome if I could share with you a few reasons why I am thankful that you are a spender, even though I am
Whoa.
very much in the camp
You
of
can't
saving is
lie.
better.
You can't lie here.
And I don't know if you're feeling gracious, and no pressure, but if you're feeling gracious, I would be honored to hear anything that you have, any appreciative words you might have around the savor that you're
I
married to.
I think I can think of a couple things. I'll scratch
I
it
understand you're
around.
going to stretch. All right. So, can I go first?
Sure,
So,
please.
so first and foremost, which I've already hinted at a little bit, is I'm thankful that you push me to spend money on things that I probably wouldn't spend money on otherwise, or that things that I want to do that I just need a little nudge on. The big thing, of course, was shortly after we got married, buying the DeLorean. So I had saved money. I had money sitting there. I just couldn't pull that money out of the bank to actually do it. And you kept telling me, "Hey, if you're going to do this, just do it. Get this done with. Make it happen. Just put up or shut up." And so I'm grateful for that because that's been a huge hobby and fun, and I've loved it. Um, vac-
Can I share one then from you?
Yeah, you can. I was just gonna say a couple of other things that you've pushed me to do,
Oh, sorry. This is the
but
same. This is the same thing you're grateful. I thought you were going on to
no,
another
no,
one.
no. This is the same thing I'm grateful
Oh,
for.
wow. Okay, continue
You,
then.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I'm so grateful here for you. You've pushed me to do vacations and travel. I never did any of that before. You pushed me to have more experiences, go out to eat, do wacky adventures, just even locally. I don't know. I'm grateful for that. That's all I wanted to wrap up with.
Oh, thank you. So I'm grateful that because you don't like to spend money, that I get to pick out a lot of the stuff that we buy when it comes to buying because you don't really care. No, I'm just
What?
kidding. I'm just kidding.
What?
I'm just teasing.
I don't
Actually,
actually care that much about the
actually you
interior,
do
but
actually you do a lot of research for us and figure out the best option for things to buy. So this is actually an interesting take because I'm telling a spending thing about you, but um it
well,
is very helpful that you do a lot of the research and figure out this is what we should do because I just really don't have the patience for that.
yeah, if you spend money, I feel like you want to spend it right. And so that's where
You're
the research
That's
comes
right.
in.
That's where you come in. But no, along those lines though, you're very thoughtful individual. So what I really appreciate, and it usually comes down to spending, but you are willing to listen to my point of view and hear me out. So I often, I know this probably sounds crazy to people, but I'll sometimes come with these crazy ideas that from left field that initially you probably would have thought we're not going to do this, shut it down. So I get these wild ideas that I propose to him, and you know, your reaction could just be no, but you listen and you're thoughtful about it and you think about it, and we have a good discussion, and we usually come to a compromise. So I remember when we lived in California, we had a vacation budget, and we would put money aside for a vacation, and we do like one or two vacations a year. And we moved to California, it was like we want to see the West Coast. I was like, we're not going to be able to do all these cool things. And so we talked about like changing our strategy, and hey, let's have a new line item for weekend trips that are kind of smaller adventures that you normally probably would have said, hey, that's a vacation. Like going camping and doing a road trip would have normally been a vacation to you. And so being able to listen and compromise and come to an agreement on things, and I think I really appreciate you.
Got it. So to summarize, what you appreciate about your saver is that your saver is willing to spend when you want him to. Understood. Okay, that's a good first step. Let's see how the rest of those go. My second item about that I'm grateful for my spender is that it helps us with having a spender saver relationship in general helps us with checks and balances. So a lot like the federal government that has this model of checks and balances in place, we have that as well a little bit with our decisions. So you keep me from saving for no reason, and I keep you from thinking about I keep you in a state where you have to think about the future a little bit rather than just what do I want to do today. And so I think that that's a healthy dynamic for us to both be a little push pull going on there.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Which leads to my next thing. You talked about the future. So I'm grateful because of your saver mentality. I think you have set us up for the future way better than we would be in a position if it was just left up to me. By getting us to save more, we've been able to reach our goals faster, and like I think we'll be able to hit financial independence a lot quicker and sooner than we would do if it were on my plan. I remember when we got married and we combined our financials, we both had been working and single on our own, and we both came in and had retirement accounts, and I'd been working for a couple more years than David, but his 401k was larger than mine. So he also had equity in a house. So it sounds like he kind of brought a little bit more, but no, that's not true. But he was doing really well, and he got me on track, and I kind of needed that extra push to say, yeah, you're doing okay, but you could be doing better. And now we, as a couple, I think are set up better for the future as a result of you.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah.
How's that? That was not
That
about
I like
spending.
number two a lot better than number one. Um, so my third and final one that I have here is probably maybe ties back to my number one a little bit, but you've helped us improve our standard of living. So you've made sure that I don't have too many holes in my socks. You got me to appreciate some of the nicer things in life, and you've helped me to not feel guilty about having some of these nicer things, or to worry about what other people might think that I'm too hoity-toity, or think that I'm, I don't know, arrogant or something because I have a certain standard of living. And so I appreciate that very much. You kind of getting me out of my comfort zone there and getting me to where we are.
Yeah, you don't like to flaunt those DeLorean t-shirts that you wear too much. You think people would be jealous, but
So, in all honesty, that was definitely a concern, though, when I bought the DeLorean. I was like, oh my goodness, like, this is kind of the symbol in my head. This is the symbol that I've arrived. It was when I have the DeLorean. I know you laugh, but it's true. It wasn't even that expensive of a car, right? It was cheaper than a Honda Accord at the time. So, I mean, it's not that fancy of a car, but it's like, oh, this was the top. And I kind of felt a little bit like, oh, what are people going to think about me now that I have this awesome car? And I know I was the only one that actually thought it was so awesome, but that's just the thing in my head that I had. And so I
no, I get it.
appreciate that you've been able to get me out of my head a little.
Well, thank you. So the third one that I had for you was I think that, well, I'm grateful for your saving mentality that has helped us to feel financial freedom. By being, I think, because of your saving mentality, we've been able to be on a solid financial situation. We don't have any debt. We've got a good savings going on. And what that's enabled us to do is, we can do what we want. So if we want to move to Singapore, which we did, we can. Or if we want to change jobs, we can do that. And for those of you who don't know me, I've been known to change jobs a time or two. I'm not looking right now, but and so I
Yeah, I
feel
hope
like
not.
I feel like that's made it a little bit more. I know it's still stressful to you when we make changes and take on risks, but it makes it a lot easier by feeling a little bit more on the financial freedom side to be able to take on those risks and those changes in life. And I think that's a large part because of you and your saving.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I think this is a great thing for I mean, it's awesome for us to do. I think it's great for the people at home to do as well,
Yeah,
right?
that was really fun. So hopefully our modeling, so that for those of you now, we'd like you to continue this conversation, hopefully at home with your significant other, your spouse. And so we want you to do kind of exactly what we just did. Sit down with your spouse, talk to your spouse, tell them why you're grateful for them. It doesn't have to be tied to financials, but why you're grateful for them. But then tie it in. So if you are the spender or saver or they are, tie in what characteristic is positive to your marriage and your financial situation based on that as well. So, since we already did that, I thought we'd circle back. We need to continue with this gratitude question. So, as I mentioned at the beginning, 2020, in case those of you weren't paying attention, it's been a bit of a train wreck here. I think everybody's ready to sign off the year and move on to the next year. But I think it's also good to acknowledge that there's been some positive things and probably things that we should be grateful for even in this difficult year. So, David, what is one or two things that you're grateful for in 2020?
Two quick things. First, I'm grateful that we've been able to see so much of Singapore. So I know Singapore is a small place. When we first moved out here, we were thinking we would probably not see a lot of Singapore. We'd be jet setting off on the weekends to see Southeast Asia and doing more exploring. None of that's been able to happen, obviously. So we've been spending a lot of time going deep into what's here in Singapore, and I'm grateful that I feel like I truly understand at least the geography around me and the sights to be seen, and have learned a lot more about the culture here. So I think that's been awesome. Secondly, I've really loved working from home and spending more time with you at home. So that's been awesome. I know it sounds cheesy, but I really hope that's one thing that as we move back to a normal life eventually, that at least we're able to do more often of. Just the lunches, that we have together, just walking over from my desk to yours to say hi throughout the day
Give me a little
occasionally.
snuggle.
What? What are you talking about? Yeah, maybe. All that's been just so enjoyable. I don't know. I think that's been awesome and something that never would have been able to happen if it wasn't for COVID.
No, those are really good. So for me, on a personal note, when 2020 went crazy and I couldn't control anything, I decided, it was time to take charge of my health. And so I started walking every day, and that was actually just a good for my mental to listen to podcasts and just hear some positive things. And I started eating better, and I was able to lose some weight that I've been needing to lose forever. And I just feel so much healthier. I stopped snoring. I just feel better. I have more energy. And so I don't know that that would have happened if life would have been just normal. And to your point, we would have been jet setting and traveling all over. I think it would have been hard, to do that. So that's been a positive thing for me. And then the second thing that I had was this podcast, actually.
Aw.
It's something we've been talking about. Something we've been wanting to do for a while. We're both really passionate about finances and personal finances in a marriage and helping other people. And we just didn't really take the time. And so this has been a fun project to do together. And I'm glad we've had the time and been able to start something that we've been wanting to do for a while.
Those are awesome, awesome things to be thankful for this year. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Well, I'm happy to be doing this podcast with you as well, and I hope all of our listeners don't mind tuning in either. So thank you so much. Oh, and of course, I'm grateful for our listeners.
Well, of course.
I think that goes without being said, but I'll say it anyway. We're grateful for the listeners, so thank you, listeners. Well, I think that about wraps up our conversation today. We, of course, would love to hear how your conversations around money are going in your marriage, or to take your questions in a future episode. Remember, you can always email us at marriageandmoneypodcast@gmail.com, or check us out on Instagram at marriage.and.money. Also, please rate and review us on iTunes, as that'll help us reach out to more people, give us a little more visibility there. And thanks again so much for joining us this week. And remember, whether you're a spender or a saver, your best financial life lies somewhere in the middle.